Hey guys, sorry I'm a little late. This is going to be a little bit of a different Facebook Live. Hey, there's Gimli. What's going on, Gimli? Gim? When you watch this later, please simply share this out. A lot of people are saying, hey, Art, we like your stand. We like what you're saying. We like the truths that are coming forward. What can we do? Well, besides being people of prayer and faith, what you can do is to share this out. Because I'm just going to bring a few things here for the church, the leaders of communities, the leaders of churches, and I just feel I need to. It's with a heavy heart that I'm just going to share some of the facts that going forward of some things here. So, first of all, I got to tell you about this phone call. So, as you guys know, we have made a decision, us and some other churches in BC, to stay open. Now, this angers people because there are the NDP of British Columbia and the chief medical officer. That it's a political position. It's given by it's from a political standpoint, power to dictate all of these rules through these public health orders. And as some of you know, in British Columbia, we have a zero tolerance for all of December, all of January, half of November, half of February. For 3 months, we've not been allowed to have church whatsoever. Some people say, well, that's great. Well, here's the deal. Are you aware that we are not allowed to have church with 6 people with masks, but you can go to any bar, you can go to any restaurant with 6 strangers, 5 other strangers, and you can eat there. So as some of you know, we've stayed open, and I'm just going to let you know, our church we've got revival going on. There are people who don't know the Lord, addicts coming in. They're so broken, they need life, and they're getting saved, healed, delivered, and set free. I don't understand all that's going on, but God is moving. And I got a phone call the other night, and this man phoned our ministry, and he was so upset. He was irate. And he said to Nicole, our administrator, he goes, I am disgusted with what Art Lucier and Harvest Ministries is doing in Kelowna by staying open and endangering lives. He goes, I'm going to be calling back every day until one of these leaders phones me if they have the guts to. I took the phone away from Nicole and I talked to him. He was irate and I listened to him. He goes, I can't believe you guys are still having church after the chief health officer has told you guys you cannot have any church. I said, well, sir, here's why we do it. Number 1, we do it for the most vulnerable, for the hurting, the broken, the addicted, those who are lost, who are fearful, those who are struggling mentally because they need God. And they can't. A lot of them don't own laptops. A lot of them, and even if they did, Zoom is great for some meetings. But there's something. I said, listen, sir, as a believer, you know and understand that there's a certain aspect of God you cannot get unless you come together in a corporate worship service. I said, sir, there's a certain aspect of God, of course, as you know, you cannot get except just you and Jesus alone, reading your word. You need that. You need just you and alone time with God. But on the other side, there's a certain aspect of God and his presence according to Scripture and according to experience. If you've ever been in a real worship service, you cannot get except by coming together. I said, so, sir, I said, number one, these people, these hurting, broken, down and outers, they're told they're allowed to go to the bar, to a strip club, to a marijuana joint. They're allowed to go to a restaurant. They can go skiing, but you can't come to church. I said, sir, it is Wednesday night here. I'm in my office. This is when he phoned me, Wednesday night. I said, sir, next door there's a bar, Dakota's Pub. I said, do you realize there's 200 people in there right now? It's roaring. It's full. It's like people are sitting there unmasked because they're eating. They're talking loud. People are waiting up in line because it's cold outside. There's a bunch of people inside. They're drinking beer and the place is full. At least 200 people. It's a sports bar and it's just amazing. Yeah, they have all these tables crammed. Every second table's empty, but the way they do it is barely 6 feet between the next table, and you got 6 people unmasked. It's crowded. It's big, and there's these different rooms. They're all connected, and it's loud. I said they're allowed next door to be loud, roaring, without masks, yelling over the music and over one another, eating food, and they're allowed to do that. But we're not allowed to look after our hurting and our broken with even 6 people. We're not allowed 6 with masks. I said, I said, this is hypocrisy. This is an absolute attack against the church. And so we have now Bonnie Henry. I said, sir, and how about this? Actually, did you know in BC we're allowed to have church? 50 cars outside. You're allowed to do an outdoor service. Up to 50 cars. Not 51 cars, because you'll get fined $2,300. But you're allowed 50 cars, but nobody is allowed out of their cars to go to the bathroom or anything. And you can have church outside. Yeah, at minus 10 or 12 or 15 or 20, whatever it is right now. You're allowed that. But I said, sir, did you know that I counted 800 cars in the Walmart parking lot at Christmas time? 800 cars. And they're coming and going like bees. And there's over 800 people, it says on the door, allowed in Walmart. 800. And there's such a lack of social distancing. I don't really care, because here's the deal. Well, first of all, I will say this. Because, how dare politicians like Jason Kinney and others compare this to the Spanish flu. First of all, in the Spanish flu of 100 years ago, people in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s were dying. Like 100 million people. Like it was terrible, the Spanish flu. Well, there's been almost 0 people, 0 children, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 0 who have died. But we are getting punished, we're getting locked down, we're losing our businesses, and we're told that we are also losing our rights. And I said, sir, and while you're angry, what about Whistler? In December, Whistler had 550 cases of COVID. In Big White, we had over 150 just in January. I think in December and January, there's 200 outbreaks and cases of COVID. What about them? And yet Bonnie Henry is still encouraging people to go skiing. I don't see them getting shut down. We've had no outbreaks, and we've not we've not closed at all. I get it. If you have a virus, someone gets it, stay home for 2 weeks. Heck, if it's really bad out there, everyone stay home for 2 weeks. If the church is shut down the restaurants, shut down the bars, shut down the liquor stores, shut down the malls, shut down everything, lock people up for 2 weeks. It must be equal, but it's not, is it? We are the only ones that are not allowed to have any type of freedoms, and that's the church. And oddly enough, under the Canadian Charter, We're the ones who are protected. It is the government, the NDP, who is a political appointee, the Bonnie Henry, which is politically driven. They are allowing everything else to open, but the churches have to stay shut. And did you know this? I want pastors, listen to me, listen to this. Do you know that the Trudeau government is giving media $13 million a month in Canada? $13 million just for COVID advertising and for warnings and to any media that is pro-mask, pro-lockdown. Do you understand that this is immoral? Do you understand, pastors, that an immoral left-leaning media who hates the church, who is pro-death, pro-perversion, they're getting paid by a pro-death, pro-perversion government to spread fear? Did you notice that none of the chief medical officers are saying what it takes to stay healthy? Well, this guy who phoned me, I said, listen, 800 vehicles in Walmart, they're allowed to go. The bar's full, but we're not allowed to look after our people. And you know what this guy said? He was irate. And he said, you know what? You've given me some stuff to think about. He goes, I just need to apologize. I need to backtrack. I need to apologize. You know what? He goes, I'm not a churchgoer. I don't know my Bible. I said, oh, I thought you were some religious guy. I just had to tell him the stats of what's going on. So listen, and now Bonnie Henry is now coming after the churches and filing for injunctions to be able to jail the pastors. Hey, pastors, you said that if the churches aren't allowed to be open by January 1st, that you were going to open them anyway, or January 3rd or something. Well, here it is, February, 12th today. This is the 73rd anniversary of the North Battleford Revival. 73 years ago, some kids got kicked out of a Bible college because they wouldn't stop fasting and praying, went to an orphanage, and on February 12th, 1948, a healing power of God fell, and the healing movement happened. And isn't that incredible? Yes, ski resorts, 550 outbreak cases of COVID just in December in Whistler. And we don't have anyone shouting them down. Isn't this just disgusting? So people say, this is terrible. This isn't communism at all. This is on the road to communism. And pastors, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get told that you're not allowed to open church when you finally are, without mandatory vaccinations, even for young people, for 20s and 30s, which it's not hitting. This is a false pandemic. And listen, so here's the deal. Here's what I said. Let's shut everything down then if they're shutting down the church. That is actually fair. The Oak test, which was a court case, set precedents that if you're going to come after our freedoms, it needs to be fair and across the board. It's not. We're the only ones being targeted, even though we need, our people need God. And I'm going to say this for the pastors, just for the believers. This is for the believers. The Constitution says that the government can't take your right away to assemble or to take your religious freedoms away. They're not allowed to do it, even in the Emergency Act. So here's the deal. God says this in his word: do not stop the act of assembling, of meeting together. Pastors can justify it all day long if they want. But I'm telling you, we need to trust God and have more faith in God than fear of a virus. We need to be open for the people who need God, because God is essential. Church is essential. So this guy backpedaled. He goes, you know what? You're right. You guys need to stay open. This is not even a believer. If a bar next door can be roaring loud with people. So listen. So now Bonnie Henry has put an injunction to come after pastors. The first court case is down south with 3 churches. Then the next one, March 1st, up here. And you know what? And if Bonnie Henry and if they want to override the Charter of Rights and Constitution, and if I need to go to jail, then I will go to jail for what is right, for standing for the Charter of Rights, for the Constitution, and for our people, and for God. So please share this out. And by the way, section 176.2 of the Criminal Code says nobody can come and interrupt a church service. Nobody. And if they do, it's up to 2 years imprisonment for anyone who disrupts clergy in doing church. So we're having church. We've not stopped. We have revival. Revival is breaking out. I said this in December. I said, listen, come March, there's a trickle. There's an outpouring coming, and then it's going to wane a bit, and then it's going to hit full bore in the fall and into 2022. But is it going to be for you? We need more pastors and leaders to stand for the Charter of Rights and for our freedoms now. Because if you don't stand now, you won't be able to stand later. So Art Lucier from Harvest Ministries International, appearing to be rebellious towards men, but really it's being obedient to God. Are you obedient to God? Share this out. Thank you, guys.